have cool backgrounds, and I do not have a cool background. I've got a TV with
You
a
can
VCR
make your own.
combo. No, I can't. Even though I have a brand new MacBook Air, it does not allow me to do that without a green screen.
So it told me the same
We're live.
thing.
Okay.
God
Said he was
damn
going to
it,
do
Gary.
that.
I said that was going to
Can't
happen.
curse in the first 30 seconds, Miles.
Sure you can. Let people know what they're in for. So I guess we should announce what we're doing here, because we'll be pulling this audio, I guess, to throw up on the podcast feed as well. But we're going to try this thing where we go live on YouTube, and hopefully in the future we'll do other formats like, is Periscope still a thing? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it's all by Twitter though, so it
and
just goes.
the old Instagram Live and Facebook Live and all that. But for this one's just on YouTube. But if you're not watching us on YouTube right now, which is unlikely since we didn't really announce we were doing this, but we'll be pulling this audio for the podcast feed as well, so you can listen to it on your commute. But this is a new thing we want to try for the Cinema Shock podcast, where we kind of have what I'm going to kind of refer to it as a roundtable. We've got Miles Griffin joining us today from the More You Nerd podcast. I'm Justin Bishop. That's Gary Horn, wherever he is on the screen.
I'm smiling.
Wherever Gary's
not going to help the audio.
And we and Miles will maybe be on here every now and then. We might have other guests on here every now and then, but people who are active in our community. We have a Discord server, people from that, guests of the show and things like that, just kind of coming on to discuss recent movie news and what we're watching, and just kind of bullshit, and it's fun.
I also named the stream is Die Hard a Christmas movie, so we'll have that discussion
Jesus
today
Christ.
too. That's a popular one for every year. So.
Yeah, for every year we have to have the same conversation, and my answer is always, it doesn't matter. If you enjoy watching Die Hard at Christmas, watch Die Hard at Christmas.
Yeah, but also the people want to know what we think, Miles.
Well, here's what we think. If we're gonna go on that, yes, it's a Christmas movie. That's the answer to that question. It's set at Christmas time. It has Christmas music, and it's got a guy wearing a Santa Claus hat. So what more do you need?
I don't necessarily agree, but I don't care enough to have a discussion about it.
Well, the entire movie
Why would you not agree?
During a Christmas party.
I refuse to get in this conversation.
No, it's too late. We're in
here with somebody.
We're in it.
No, we are not. Although I did just watch
Here's my thing. I was watching, we're in the middle of the Shane Black series, and I was thinking about this the other day, that Lethal Weapon, also you could be like, oh, Lethal Weapon's a Christmas movie. And I'm like, people will say no to that too. But the difference, I was trying to consider to myself what the difference is, like why Lethal Weapon isn't argued as much as a Christmas movie. Although some people do watch it every Christmas. We've seen that's been said online. But I think that the thing for Die Hard is the entire plot, its whole premise is it's pushed by Christmas. Like right. Lethal Weapon could have taken place in July or January. But Die Hard, none of it happens if it's not Christmas time.
Yeah, John McClane's coming to visit his wife because it's the holidays. She's in a Christmas party, which is the only reason that all of those people would be in that building after hours is because they're having an office Christmas party.
Yeah, the lax security that's happening, and I don't know, it all makes sense it has to be at Christmas or the plot doesn't happen.
Yep. So there you go. We answered that question.
It's perfectly fine.
And there are no other correct answers.
Again, I don't agree, but
no matter what,
care.
No matter what color Gerard Way shirt you wear, there are no other correct answers.
Why would you think that it's not a Christmas?
So here's my thing about if we have to talk.
I'm just curious. I'm genuinely curious.
I believe it's a movie that's set at Christmas, not that it's a movie that is about Christmas. And that for me is the big difference. But again, it's not a point that I care about. Like if you think it's a Christmas movie, that's fine. It's a Christmas movie to you. Like I don't think people love getting in this big debate, but I just, like I said, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're wrong. I disagree, but just because I disagree does not mean I'm right or wrong either. I personally don't see it as a Christmas movie, but I do know that people, enjoy having the tradition of watching Die Hard at Christmas, and I have no problem with that. I will watch Die Hard at Christmas if I feel like it, but We just watched the films that made us on it, and we probably will watch it this year because Krista's never seen Die Hard.
What? Man, you got to introduce it to her.
Yeah, and it's a very, very fun movie.
It's a great movie.
So like I have no problem with people who want to celebrate Christmas watching Die Hard. I mean, I watched plenty of non-Christmas movies.
Do you consider
around the
Kiss
holiday.
Kiss Bang Bang a Christmas movie? I mean, there's a lot of Christmas setting in that movie.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it.
I
but
mean, Michelle Monaghan wears a Santa outfit for a good chunk of that movie.
it's just like the same. Some people love to say like Eyes Wide Shut is a Christmas movie.
I mean, it takes place at Christmas.
It takes place at Christmas.
but
It looks
But
like
the
every
difference is-
Christmas party I attend.
the difference there is kind of what Gary said. Like the plot doesn't really matter that it's at Christmas necessarily,
Sure.
but in Die Hard, the story is propelled forward by the Christmas setting. I mean, Brazil takes place at Christmas, but that doesn't have anything to do with the story at all. It just happens to take place at Christmas time.
Yeah, and like I said, just because I don't agree doesn't mean it matters. Like I am
Fair enough.
in a don't listen to me. Like if you want to celebrate Christmas with Die Hard, by all means,
do what
please.
makes you happy.
Exactly, especially this year. Like
Yeah.
find happiness wherever you can.
Well, then let's talk a little bit about. I'm curious. So you guys been watching Christmas movies yet? Have you already
Mhm.
started your Christmas movies?
Oh,
I've
yes.
watched something almost every day, honestly, of some sort. I mean, a couple of those days it was like short stuff, like the Lego Star Wars holiday special that's on Disney, which is really fun. By the way, it's really funny.
It's
And-
very, very cute. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. But I've been trying to watch Christmas stuff every day. Like it's all been. I don't think I've watched anything for the first time except for that, and I watched that Chiodo Brothers Alien Xmas that's on
Yeah,
Netflix.
it looks cute.
It's cute, it's like a little 45-minute stop motion short by the Chiodo Brothers, who, of course, did Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but they also did the stop motion stuff in Elf. And John Favreau is the
Mhm.
executive producer of Alien Xmas. And then I watched R Xmas, which is an Abel Ferrara movie with Ice-T and Drea De Matteo in it. That's set at Christmas time.
Oh yeah, I
it's-
think I saw a thing for that.
yeah, I mean, it came out in 2001. It's very Abel Ferrara. It's very,
I think maybe I saw
very-
that you watched it or something.
yeah, I watched it a couple days ago, so you might have seen it on my Instagram or something. But what have you guys been watching anything cool, Christmas or otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the staples. Your Home Alone, your Santa Claus. Even though I'm not a massive fan of that one.
The one
Just
where
be-
Tim
Allen.
Tim Allen murders Santa.
Yes,
That's the one.
most of
Manslaughter.
the Netflix cinematic universe is popular in our house.
Yeah, the Princess Switch. You watched the Princess Switch?
Princess Switch and Switched Again.
Yeah.
Christmas Prince 1, 2, and 3. 12
Oh.
Dates of Christmas, which is not a Netflix one.
Holiday.
We haven't watched Holiday yet. But that little universe. Oh, a Night Before Christmas, the one where a literal knight transports through time
yeah,
to
yeah.
romance Vanessa Hudgens.
Oh, yeah. That sounds. How many of these is Vanessa Hudgens in?
Vanessa Hudgens is in 3 or 4 of these movies.
She's in the Princess Switch, right?
Yes,
Like
and
3
they-
of her are in it.
Yes, there are 3 of her in a Princess Switch, and then they have made this cinematic universe between A Night Before Christmas and the Christmas Prince movies, which means there are 4 Vanessa Hudgens in this universe.
Oh, so bizarre. Somebody needs to come up with a timeline of.
So this is supposed to be a cohesive universe.
Well, they
because-
reference each other. Right?
Well, they reference each other. There is a cameo. Spoilers for Christmas Switch 2, but there's a cameo shot of the prince and princess from A Christmas Prince in Christmas Switch 2. The country that they are from is referred to in A Night Before Christmas.
so it's really just the Switch movies and the Night movies, right?
the Christmas Prince, which is a different series.
Oh, so this Prince, Switch, Night. 3
Yes.
different series that all.
Yes,
Are
and
connected.
I think another one of the originals mentions one of the countries as well. So they
I'm
are
looking. I'm going to
basically-
Google this. And I'm going to watch them all.
I mean, I personally find Vanessa Hudgens to be extremely delightful and charming, and so I
Yeah.
think she pulls off these Hallmark Start movies very well.
I'll be honest. I haven't seen much from her aside from I mean, I'm
Spring
aware
Break.
of who she is, but Spring Breakers, yeah, that's really what I know her from. I mean, obviously I know where she came from before that, but I have not seen in like High School Musical and stuff. I haven't seen any of those. She's in that, right?
Yes, that's where
Yeah.
she got her
Okay,
big,
that's
her
what I
big
thought.
start. But yeah, other than that, it's been some of the the standards. We haven't gotten to Elf yet.
I watched Elf last
fine.
night because I watched the holiday movies that made us episode on it a couple of days or yesterday morning, and then I wanted to watch the movie.
I love that whole series, the toys, the movies, the holidays.
The holiday movies one's only 2 episodes. It's Elf and
What?
It's Nightmare, it's Elf and Nightmare Before Christmas, and that's it.
Well, they've already done, to be fair, Home Alone and Die Hard, and
Oh, those were just on the regular.
yeah. So
series.
I mean, it would have been cool if they had done something on some of the you said they did Christmas Story.
No, just Elf and Nightmare Before Christmas
Why would they have not done Christmas Story?
or Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the Elf one is really fascinating. Actually, it's actually a really good, really good story. Really fun. What about you,
Check it
Gary?
out.
I watched Home Alone last night. I've watched both of the Christmas Chronicles.
Yeah,
Only seen the
fir-
first one.
I haven't seen the second one yet. No.
It's not as good as the first, but it's fine.
That's what I kept hearing. Even though Kurt Russell is so good as sexy Santa.
You know what it was for me is I could say about the second one, the stakes are like, I know it sounds weird. There's like a villain in the second one, and I think that's wrong for that series for some reason. There's like
Is it like a Jack Frost like or something?
yeah,
it
it's kind
Martin
of like
Short?
that. It's like a elf gone bad, you know, and
Ooh.
Oh,
it's like in the first one, it was a little more wholesome and it felt
Yeah.
just more cheery. And it's just like, oh, what a silly mistake. Santa's sleigh and his hat's gone and like blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, we got to find all the pieces and get it back together and save Christmas. And for some reason, the second one's a little darker than that. So it's like, I don't know. Watching them back to back, I was like, second one's fine, but I still like the first one better.
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus I've gotten from it. I've watched we've been watching Shane Black movies for the podcast, so I've watched those.
Yeah.
I watched Anna and the Apocalypse. Bunny had never seen it. Have you guys seen that?
I have
Never seen
not.
it.
Oh, you should check it out,
I
man.
know-
It's really
I think
fun.
Craig Carson's a big
It's,
proponent of it.
It's zombies and Christmas and musical numbers. It's great. It's really great. The girl who plays Anna, the main girl, is really super charming. It's
Yeah,
not
I've
like
heard-
a amazing movie, but it's really fun. It's a little long, or it feels a little long. It honestly loses a little bit of steam, ironically, when the zombie stuff kicks in. And all of the best music is sort of in the first half of the movie.
Hmm.
The songs in the later half are not as good, but it's still very fun and worth watching.
I gotta ask both of you guys because I found this true about me this year. I'm not usually one who goes all in on like a Christmas viewing spree. Usually, I'll watch maybe 1 or 2 movies and I'm pretty much satisfied. I don't go as hard as I do in Halloween. But this year, maybe it's because of 2020 being what it is, and having a season where you're supposed to kind of lift spirits and be a lot more positive about things. I feel more drawn to doing that and watching some of these movies and kind of getting in the mood of the season this year.
Yeah. I mean, I've kind of been trying to force myself into getting in the
Right.
spirit, even though I'm really not. But so I actually made like on Letterboxd a list on Letterboxd of just a bunch of enough Christmas movies to watch one every day if I wanted to pick one every day. Like stuff that I would actually want to watch. And I don't know. I've been trying. Obviously, I mean, the Abel Ferrara movie is not exactly your
Right.
brightest in Christmas movie, whereas like Better Watch Out, which I watched a few nights ago and stuff like that, but it's still Christmassy,
Yeah, I do love that Shudder is getting into the spirit of things where it's like, yeah, better watch out. All the creatures were stirring and
Dial Code Santa.
Dial
is on
Code
there.
Santa Claus, Rare Export.
Yeah.
Rare Export's a fun little movie.
I watch that one every year. Dial Code Santa I watched for the first time last year. I'll probably rewatch it this year. That one's really fun.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's on Shudder.
It's on Shudder.
French movie, Père Noël. It's what it's also called. But it's got some major like Home Alone vibes because it's about this guy who's dressed as Santa trying to break into this kid's house, and the kid has to set up traps and stuff. But it came out like a year or so before Home Alone.
Oh, cool.
Much darker. It's a much darker movie.
I know it's been getting a lot of write-ups in the last year or so.
Yeah, it's because
I
it
feel like.
finally got stateside release last year. It had only been available as like a bootleg for years.
Who put it out? Arrow, Severin?
No,
Synapse?
one of those. I can't remember. It's somebody cool. It might have been Severin, but yeah, somebody put out like
it sounds like something either them or Synapse would do.
yeah. So it looks like a. I mean, I haven't seen the Blu-ray, but the transfer on Shudder is pretty good. It's definitely worth checking out.
Awesome. Well, so outside of the Christmas stuff, like what have you guys been I don't know, getting into recently? It's interesting to see people's movies habits because we're a little less bound by what's coming out and more by what we want to see.
Yeah, my 20 doing like a top 10 of 2020 is going to be difficult because there's so much stuff I haven't seen because it feels there's less urgency to seeing new stuff when it's not like playing in theaters and stuff. But I've been watching a lot of David Fincher movies because Mank just came out, and I was trying to watch them all before that, but that hasn't happened. I'm up to Zodiac. I just watched Zodiac a couple days
I
ago.
love Zodiac.
I mean, these are all movies I've seen before, but Zodiac, that's the first time I think I've seen it since the theater, and it's amazing.
It's so good.
It's amazing.
And it's so weird about that movie is I always forget how good it is.
It is so good. It might be his best movie.
I would probably.
I would say
hop
it's
in
not
on
my
that.
favorite, but I think it might be his best. My favorite is, as cliche as it sounds, probably Fight Club, because that movie was had a lot of impact for me when it came out. It came out like my senior year of high school, and it was a pretty big deal for me.
I mean, he's got. I mean, outside of the obvious one that he's done that isn't really as well received, he's got a really consistent and solid filmography.
And Panic Room, which we watched. Bunny had never seen that, and watched that for the first time in years. And Panic Room slaps. That movie
I haven't seen it since it came out in theaters.
It is outstanding. It is just, I mean, just as like a terse little thriller, it's really good. It holds up really well. I mean, some of the CGI stuff, because he does all these camera moves that there are CGI elements in it. That because the camera's moving like through the handle on a coffee,
Right.
The coffee maker, stuff like that. The CGI hasn't aged terribly well, but it's not distracting or anything. It's really good. Dwight Yoakam is really scary in that movie, and Forrest Whitaker's really great. Like, it is really good. I was very impressed by how well
being really good.
Yeah, he's a skis bag in that movie, man. I was impressed by how well it held up. I was kind of expecting it to be disappointed because I remember liking it a lot when it came out, and it has aged well.
If one of you wants to share this on Facebook, feel free. I'm not allowed to post on Facebook for another 7 hours.
What did you do?
What did you do?
I got really offensive. Apparently, in my stories, I posted a picture of a truck that said "Dildo Dan."
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
Yeah,
Facebook didn't like that.
You got put in Facebook
It
jail for
flagged
that?
me and it banned me for posting.
Of all things, that's what you got banned for. You can say some vile shit on Facebook, and there wasn't even a picture of a dildo on it. It just said
no,
the
it
word
wasn't.
dildo.
It's just the truck that says "Dildo Dan." And it is unfortunate. That happened. I think it's because that was like twice now that it's happened to me. I got banned for 24 hours. The other one though was it was an image that was supposed to be funny because it looked like a wiener, but it wasn't a wiener.
Yeah.
And I got flagged for that. And then now I got flagged for Dildo Dan. And so I'm on a 24-hour timeout with Facebook. So
Wow.
and that was the first time I posted to Facebook in about, I don't know, 3 months. And I was like, oh, screw you, Facebook. Like, I come back here and like, no, this is stupid. Anyway.
Then you learned why you shouldn't come back to Facebook. But
Yeah.
Gary's in Facebook jail.
Yep. So
There was a conversation we had a couple weeks ago on the Cinema Shock Discord where I think you and maybe it was Bill and Craig, may have been Vance. We're talking about the Skyline franchise, and there seemed to be some excitement for the third one because you guys had seen the second Skyline. I think it's Beyond Skyline.
Yeah, Beyond Skyline.
And that it's supposed to be really, really fun. So I watched the first one this past week,
Yeah.
thinking about that conversation. And I remember you telling me that the first one isn't a lot to write home about, which I wholeheartedly agree.
Yes.
I thought the last 5 minutes were kind of interesting, and that was about it. Everything
Haven't
else
seen
about
any
the
of
movie
these.
kind of felt like a slick music video or something. Like,
Yeah, the first one's not great, but the second one, and the thing is, you don't honestly have to like see the
I know it's
first
just me
one.
being anal retentive. Like,
Yeah.
I just
But the second, did you watch the second one though?
no, I'm going to
Oh, okay.
this week.
Yeah, the second one is super fun. I mean, it's like Tony Tony Jaa. Is it Tony Jaa?
Yeah.
Or the guy from the Raid, maybe both of them.
Oh,
It's basically like a yeah, it's a bunch of Muay Thai fighters fighting aliens. It fucking slaps. It's really good.
that's way more interesting.
Yeah.
To me. Frank Grillo, Johnny West. Okay, this sounds a lot more fun. I remember you described the second one, and I was like, well, this sounds a lot more fun. But I still want to see the first one first. And I mean, there's nothing inherently awful about the first one. It's just it's by the numbers.
Yeah,
It's very uninspired. You don't really care. There's a lot of manufactured drama, and it's frankly, it's not anyone's fault other than the scripts. And yeah, it just doesn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, no, the first one's very forgettable, but I mean, the second one.
But you put in some Muay Thai fighters, and
a lot more fun.
Now I'm listening. That's more interesting to me, and because I've been going through different phases this year, especially. I keep wanting to do some pieces for the Cinema Shock blog that I think only has one piece on right now.
I don't know if it even has one on it yet.
Oh, I know someone from the Discord wrote something on Hillbilly Elegy, but I didn't know if they wrote it for their own thing or not.
Yeah, that was DJ. He wrote it. That was on his own Medium.
Okay. But there were two things that I've been really focusing on this year. One was disaster movies, which I think I've mentioned before. And I watched, some that I hadn't seen before, and some that were kind of classics. And there are some where I've always kind of had a little bit of a negative opinion of, like The Day After Tomorrow. And then you watch and you're like, you know what? For what this movie is, as bad as the science is, this movie is just really fun to watch.
You don't watch movies like that for the science, and people who get caught up in that stuff don't know how to have fun.
Well, I say that, but then I watch a movie like, I think it's 1972. It's called Tokyo Sinks, or The Submersion of Japan. And that movie has a lot of real science in it.
Yeah.
Like credible, theoretical science about the way the earth moves, and it was amazing. It's one of the best disaster movies I've ever seen.
I'm not saying it's not cool when people do stuff like that, but I'm just saying it depends on what kind of movie you're trying to make,
Well, because this movie is basically about Japan sliding off the earth crust is sliding a certain way that Japan is going to sink. or basically be submerged because of the way the plates work.
Yeah.
And it's based on a novel where, if there were certain earthquakes that hit a certain way, it is feasible that this could happen. Japan's not a very, very large island.
Yeah, no.
And so Earth
is flat, so
it would just slide off the edge. Yeah.
So it's not I mean, it sounds like it could be like a Roland Emmerich style movie,
right?
But it's not. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the science. There's a lot of talk. It's really about the politics of what would happen if this were to take place, and how they're trying to evacuate Japan. But there's the whole refugee, political aspect of it. Is where do these millions of people go?
Oh yeah, that's neat.
And it's a really, really fascinating movie that also has, especially for the time, really cool special effects. I mean, you can tell they put a little bit more money than, your normal Godzilla film of the 70s, but it's about, a little bit better than that.
So when did it come out? It came out in the 70s?
72.
Wow.
72. The Netflix recently did a anime version called Japan Sinks 2020. And it basically readapts the story for a modern context. It's been adapted a couple times, but the 1971 or 72 version is the one that I watched. And you can actually find it on the Internet Archive. It's very, very tough to find in terms of getting a DVD copy or a legal DVD copy.
Right.
but it's on the Internet Archive. The subtitles are a crop just a hair too much. Like you can tell what they're saying, but it does kind of irritate you,
Yeah.
especially if you're watching on TV. But so it's available to view. And out of all the disaster movies I watched, and I watched some really fun, goofy ones like The Core, which is a lot of fun, to your Towering Infernos and Airport 77s. And I gotta say that Japan Sinks was one that I think more people need to seek out, because it's just a really well done disaster film.
Huh. I'll have to check that out. I've never heard of that. So that sounds interesting.
What's the
You
one
might
with the
also
giant
find it under-
spiders that's coming out?
Do what?
Japanese. There's one that's like Japanese that has like giant spiders or something that's coming
Like
out.
a new one?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, Gary.
Let's see.
All right. Hold on. Maybe it's Korean. I can't remember now.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of recent movie news. This is all stuff, if you join our Discord, this is all stuff that you'll be able to, that we kind of talk about in real time as it comes out. But I thought it'd be fun to have a little kind of news roundup here as well to kind of give our thoughts on a few of these things. The first thing that came to mind for me, the first thing that when I think Miles posted in our Discord that
We
kind of
both
blew
came
my
to post at
mind.
the same time.
No, not well. We'll get to that one. But this is a different one that was Peter Dinklage has been cast in the Toxic Avenger reboot, which I knew a Toxic Avenger reboot was on the way. I did not know that Macon Blair was directing it. I don't think that was new news. I think it was just news that I had missed. But Legendary is producing a reboot of the Toxic Avenger, which is already an insane proposition, because sort of the charm of Toxic Avenger is how kind of low budget and
it's a gonzo punk rock movie. Like
Right.
it's an indie filmmaker telling everyone they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do this myself. And so I'm with you. Like I'm with you in that rebooting the Toxic Avenger under a massive studio like Legendary seems counterintuitive to its core principle.
Yeah. But
But
first of all, Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertzman are executive producing it. So they're granted, Lloyd Kaufman will take a paycheck from anyone.
if you pay him, he does not care.
But the fact that Legendary first got Macon Blair to direct. Macon Blair is, if you're not familiar, are you guys familiar with Macon Blair?
He's
As an
something for
actor,
Netflix, right?
as an actor or a director,
He's an
writer.
actor in Green Room.
Well, okay. So Green Room he's in Blue Ruin, which
Yeah.
he's the lead in Blue Ruin, which is directed by Jeremy Saulnier, who also directed Green Room. But he also like they work very closely together. Like they're old friends, they're collaborators. But Macon Blair also, I think he's in Murder Party too, but I haven't seen Murder Party.
He is.
But
It's great.
he also directed a movie that came out on Netflix called I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore. Came out 2 or 3 years ago on Netflix that stars Elijah Wood and Melanie Linsky. It's really, really good, and I highly recommend checking it out. I assume it's still on Netflix. I believe it was a Netflix original. So
It was.
but that's the only movie he's directed so far. I think he's got another one that he's working on right now that will probably come out before Toxic Avenger, but he's got a weird and dark sensibility. But I don't feel at home in
That
this
movie,
world
by the way,
anymore.
is Brothers, is what that's called, and it stars Peter Dinklage and Josh Brolin. So that may be why Peter Dinklage is on this.
Oh, okay, yeah, that would make sense. I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore has some of the darkness of like the Jeremy Saulnier movies, but with some comedy thrown in. It honestly feels like Jeremy Saulnier. It feels like Jeremy Saulnier making a Coen Brothers like zany comedy, if that makes sense. It's really good. But if he brings that same kind of tone to the Toxic Avenger, I think it could work really well. And the fact that he's casting Peter Dinklage as, I assume, as Toxie, the
Right.
news did
I mean,
not say, but
is he playing Melvin?
the like pre-Toxie Melvin or
Yeah, like I mean, I just know he's supposed to star in the movie. Like, is he
Yeah.
supposed to be the Toxic Avenger?
It doesn't. They didn't say in the announcement. So, but I would assume so. Like, who else would he play?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Anybody. I don't know.
I don't know if they're looking to make this basically, Macon Blair's Toxic Avenger, or if they're looking to. I mean, let's be honest. There's not a whole lot of script for them to really work with to begin with.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, so, and I mean that with all the love and reverence for Toxic Avenger. I love that movie, but
Sure.
it's not a movie that probably needed a strict script.
Yeah. No, I mean that's not what it's about. But I mean, I was already intrigued that they were remaking it anyway. But I knowing that Blair and Dinklage are involved, I'm extra like very
Yes.
very interested and very intrigued. I was gonna see it anyway, but now I'm kind of like this could be really something really cool and interesting. I think.
Yeah, I'm really curious how someone like Legendary markets this movie. Like, do they
I have no
do they
idea.
do they go the Fantastic Fest, like the festival route, and try
Yeah.
to kind of make a groundswell for this one, or do they just try to shove it down people's throats and like
Yeah.
saying, coming in 2022?
I don't
I'm really
know.
curious how they're going to
I
do
don't
this.
know. It's gonna be strange.
I'm-
So
I'm excited. I'm excited because one, I think the Toxic Avenger is something that has always been weirdly part of pop culture, not just from
Yeah.
its popularity, but I mean, I grew up with a cartoon based on it.
I actually own the cartoon because I got a Toxic Avenger box set a while back that they that Trauma put out
Mhm.
it was all 4 movies, but it also came with an extra like disc or 2 of the entire Toxic Avengers cartoon series. I've not revisited it, but that's what a weird thing to turn into a TV series.
It's just that during that weird time where it feels like there was like everything was turning into a cartoon series,
It
especially
was.
properties that should not be for children.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you had all these
RoboCop,
Rambo.
Rambo, yeah.
There was a Police Academy cartoon.
Yeah.
Yes, there
yeah.
was.
Just-
I had toys.
Yeah, I mean, they marketed, and this makes more sense in a retrospective context, but it's just wild to me they made Alien toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Aliens was. I think
I
that
had
was supposed
Terminator-
to be based on a cartoon that didn't happen, but
I had
Right.
Terminator
They
2
put out the
toys. I had all
Yeah.
kinds of Terminator 2 toys.
I had T2 toys and RoboCop, and yeah, they made some weird, like if you've ever watched the Rambo cartoon, it's wild.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's so
the,
weird.
the late 80s and early 90s were an interesting time.
Yeah. Things were weird, man. So another bit of news that I want to that I thought was really interesting is apparently Stephen Knight, the writer of David Cronenberg's Eastern Promises, has a sequel script ready to go. So they're making, which is not Eastern Promises is not a movie I ever thought needed a sequel of any sort.
No.
It stands well perfectly on its own. The weird thing is that David Cronenberg's not coming back, which I'm not very surprised by. But Viggo Mortensen is also not coming back and is being replaced by Jason Statham. And I don't know how I feel about that because I like the idea of Jason Statham like beating up guys from the Russian mob. That sounds like a cool movie.
Sure.
I don't know that I think it should be a continuation of the Eastern Promises story, though.
yeah, some of the stuff I read, it sounded like it's not even going to have really any connection except that it's taking place in the same world,
Yeah.
which is just a weird.
So is Statham not
thing
even
to
playing the
say.
same character?
I mean, based on some of the stuff I read, it didn't seem that way, but I can
Huh.
look again.
it's just a wild thing to want to make a sequel out of.
It is very strange. It's not like something that is screaming out franchise or like people are going to be rushing to the theater to see it. It honestly sounds like one of those shitty direct to video sequels or something, you know,
Yeah, we used to see those all the time in the video store days. I mean,
where a
if
different
something-
actor would take over and, yeah.
Right. And a part of me kind of gets it. Like you'll see, I think anything that has one movie that's made some money, if you can make any sort of connection to it, or just redo the same movie like they did with The Sandlot too.
Yeah.
If it's there for the taking, they're gonna do it. I mean, it's interesting because we don't have video stores, because when I was growing up, that just seemed to be like a fact that I accepted. And now I kind of puff up like, why are you doing this? Where it's always been the same, they've always done this. I mean,
yeah. It's just,
how many Kickboxer reboots are there now?
right. So let's move on. I mean, that one's, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. The director
Yeah.
is a guy that I'm not familiar with, Martin Zandvliet. He's directed a few movies that I've never heard of any of them. So I have no idea what to expect other than I guess we'll see Jason Statham beating some dudes up, which is always fun to watch, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Jason Statham fighting anything from mobsters to giant sharks.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I've enjoyed all of it, so
down.
I'm fine for it. Speaking of the future of action movies, one of the pieces of news that piqued my interest a lot this week was that Oscar Isaac has signed to star.
Yeah,
as
that
Solid
was actually
Snake.
the next thing I was going to bring up. So,
Oh,
yeah.
look at us! Look
Oscar
at us!
Isaac as Solid Snake in the Metal Gear Solid adaptation, which I knew was kind of in the works, but I didn't know it was moving this far. I did not know that Jordan Vogt Roberts was on board to direct, which I'm very excited about because I think that guy's really good. I love Skull Island. I think he's got a great visual style. Now, I will ask you though, because you're more of a gamer than I am, and I've played some Metal Gear, but I'm not I haven't played all of them, so I'm not hugely versed in the world. Do you think that it's a property that is adaptable to film? Because that's the thing with a lot of video game adaptations, that a lot of them are very hard to adapt to something where you're not in the driver's seat.
It is extremely adaptable in terms of its story. The story itself is a very, very cool kind of 80s, 90s espionage action film. What I'm a little bit worried about is because the game itself is not just because it's interactive in terms of it being a video game, but there's a lot of interactive with the actual player. It's very fourth wall breaking. It does a lot of stuff with the medium that you just can't really translate to film very well or very easily. And so I think a lot of Hideo Kojima's touches to the game may not be something you can translate. And that only makes me worried because there is a large set of the population that doesn't really play video games, but they have heard of this game. They know this game is supposed to be one of the classics in terms of modern gaming. And so I'm a little bit worried that if they hear, oh, this follows the story pretty faithfully, and they see it and they don't really understand, oh, it's just a kind of a standard action plot. It's very well plotted, but I'm a little worried that their people aren't going to be as impressed with the actual story than they would be if they kind of got to play in that world.
It feels like you could be stylish with it though, right? The
Absolutely.
story itself is essentially like Snake gets sent into, if we're talking about Metal Gear Solid, it was like they've taken over a nuclear facility, basically like a base, and he's trying to stop them.
It is an 80s action movie ready to roll. If you get a stylish director, you can make it look cool and make a very cool action movie. I fully believe it's going to look cool. And with Oscar Isaac as Snake, I think it's going to be cool. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with that, because one, the discourse on video games is tough as movies because they're largely not good.
Right.
When Sonic the Hedgehog is the best example of a video game movie, which is a fun movie, but it's like, that's the best.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the thing with video game adaptations is that a large part of the storytelling technique of an actual video game is that you're put into the shoes of and that's a very hard thing to translate to film. So it doesn't usually work.
Yeah. Metal Gear is dense enough with the way its characters are written. I think it can make a very good movie. And the thing is, they can translate some of that fourth wall breaking to film. It would be very interesting to see if they do that. I'm definitely not saying that it can't be done or they shouldn't do it, because I would love to see an awesome Metal Gear Solid movie. I'm just a little cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Miles, one of the things I'd ask too for you, because as I recall, Metal Gear Solid is like technically the fourth entry in a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of this backstory that ties together, and the universe of Metal Gear gets really confusing. Twisty at least.
So the thing about the first Metal Gear Solid game was that it was more or less kind of a reboot of an NES series that Hideo Kojima had started. And so even though the characters had all this backstory, the game is written in a way that it's like new information to you. Like that they are three-dimensional characters that have all of these wants, needs, and goals that you can like look into the ancillary material or the manual as we used to have, and kind of read about these characters. And then when they pop up in prior games or in future games, you can get that story. But in terms of needing to know about these characters for that specific story, it's not something that you have to do.
Right.
It's like I'm trying to think of a good. It's like watching the Evil Dead reboot.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a good example. Well, I'm excited. I mean, as someone who's only mildly familiar with the source material, I mean, I think Oscar Isaac seems like a good fit. I mean, he's a badass and everything.
He can do anything as far as I'm concerned.
He's going to look cool as Solid Snake, I think.
I'd like to see him as a live action Gomez Adams, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. He did the voice in the animated one, right?
He did. I really liked that movie. So
I haven't seen it, but I think Bunny watched it on Amazon. It's on Prime, I think now, right?
I can swear I saw something from Tim Burton recently saying he wanted to do that, and have
he's supposed to be doing producing some sort of Addams Family television show again or something. Which, I mean, I'll see it. I would love to see the Addams Family back on TV.
Yeah.
Well, let me show you this real quick while I have the chance here. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Abyssal Spider.
Abyssal?
That looks awesome.
Abyssal Spider?
Yeah. That was the name of that movie.
I mean, that's a cool
Taiwanese. I was wrong about where it was from, but it's from Taiwan. And
that's a cool poster.
Wicked.
Awesome poster. There's a Taiwanese horror series that just popped on Netflix called Detention. It's based off of a video game, but it's about, I think, the political uprisings in the 70s, but it's about a high school that I think has some ghostly happenings. I've heard it's very good. I'm looking forward to checking it out, but it's being released weekly, which is interesting for them.
Huh.
So the first, I think 2 episodes are on there.
I mean, they did that recently with it's the Great British Bake Off, but I wonder if it's something that's showing in its home country now.
It could be,
because that's what they did with the Great British Bake Off, and that was, I think, primarily because that show's been such a big hit in the States that people in America were getting spoiled because it was airing ahead of time,
right?
And in the UK, if you followed Paul Hollywood on Instagram, then you got spoiled.
Yeah, that sucks. So I'm glad they're doing that. They did that with Doctor Who as well, as I think they air concurrently.
Yeah.
On the same day.
Well, I guess speaking of Doctor Who, which is streaming on HBO Max, I guess that brings us to this week's the biggest movie news, probably the biggest movie news that's come out this year, honestly. Because this is
the biggest movie news of the decade.
It is huge,
honestly.
So it was announced this week. I'm sure you've all heard, but it was announced this week that Warner Brothers is releasing their entire 2021 slate on HBO Max. So they're releasing it simultaneously on HBO Max and in theaters where theaters are open and safe to go to. So what they're doing is the movie will come out, I guess, on HBO Max the same day that it comes out in theaters, and then play on HBO Max for 1 month, for 30 days. And so if you've got an HBO Max subscription, you've got all your blockbusters. Now, this is huge in a couple of different ways. One, obviously, it's going to boost HBO subscriptions, and HBO, I know,
100%
has been they're not struggling by any means. They've hit their numbers that they wanted to hit, but they lag behind some of the other streamers. Obviously, Netflix has a major head start, and Disney has the advantage of being
Disney
and being Disney, but also being very inexpensive, but being very family friendly.
And I've heard rumors that they want to combine Disney Plus and Hulu, and I just think that's a bad idea.
I saw that same article, and I think it was on Collider, and there was nothing substantiated.
Is it all just speculative?
It was all speculation.
Okay.
There's absolutely nothing. It's like, yeah, that, that could be a thing. There was absolutely nothing to that.
No evidence to back that up.
No, not at all.
So what's your gut reaction to this big news? Because I'm both excited and not. Like, I'm as a consumer, I'm super excited. As someone who loves the theatrical experience, I'm worried.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I am excited that I'll be able to see these movies sooner rather than later. But at the same time, like, I love going to the movie theater. I love seeing these movies in theaters. And I know that's not safe to do right now. And I have, even when theaters here reopened, they're closed again now. But when they reopened, I didn't go.
I didn't either.
But I worry that this is going to be harmful to movie theaters in the long run. I worry that it sets a precedent. Now, HBO and Warner Brothers has said this is just a temporary thing. That this is not planned to be like something that's going to continue once the theatrical experience is a thing again.
Right.
But they could change their minds. Like, if this boosts enough HBO Max subscribers, it could still be a thing. But these are also very expensive movies to make.
That's the thing is the amount of subscribers they would need. I mean, because Wonder Woman's supposed to be $1 billion movie,
right? And they're not going to make that kind of money off HBO subscribers. So I worry about the impact that it's going to have on the already struggling movie industry. Honestly,
I am too, and I will say that because I had this conversation here where am I excited that I have a date that I know I can watch Godzilla versus Kong.
Right.
I'm excited about that, but at the same time, I was like, if things are open and it's safe to go to a movie theater, despite having HBO Max, I'm going to go to the theater to see Godzilla and King Kong fight on the big screen.
Yeah, hey, I would much rather see that on the big screen. I wish that I could go see Wonder Woman 84 on the big screen because it looks awesome.
It's awesome.
And I will watch it at home, but I want to see it on the biggest screen possible. But it'll be cool. If it's safe to go to theaters when Matrix 4 comes out, I'm going to go see it in the theater. But I know that a lot of people are not. A lot of people, if they have the option to watch it at home, they're going to do that. Which is going to hurt the box office.
It could potentially help some of the movies because, for example, there has been none, absolutely zero marketing for a Mortal Kombat movie that is supposed to come out in less than a month.
Yeah. They literally on like the big news the other day was that they released, hey, we have unveiled the Mortal Kombat logo. And I'm like, yeah, it looks like every other Mortal Kombat logo.
Exactly.
Like, what's the big deal?
This movie has been finished filming for almost a year. It's been done. It's in the can. It was supposed to come out in January. Then they delayed it.
The fact that it was supposed to come out in January at all means that it's probably a dud. Because that's movie dumping ground.
It is, but sometimes they'll put a movie that could be a sleeper hit if it doesn't have any competition. And Mortal Kombat's a big enough name. I am going to expect that it's kind of a mid-tier action movie.
Right.
Maybe nothing to write home about, but could be fun if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat. I like the actor that's playing Liu Kang. He was the Black Ranger in the 2017 Power Rangers movie.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen nothing. We've seen the logo, and this movie comes out in a month.
Right.
But it having the Mortal Kombat thumbnail on your HBO Max means way more people are more likely to select play on that for at least 15, 20 minutes than they may have been to pay $15 to go see it in the theater.
Right. Yeah. I agree.
Will they make money, you think, based on like how many plays it gets? Is that like how that's going to work?
I don't know how it works.
Well, HBO is owned by Warner Brothers. So they're making money off the subscribers.
Right.
So that's really probably, I don't know that they're making, maybe some actors and directors contracts have to be renegotiated if they were expecting a percentage of box office profits.
Yeah.
But as far as like what the studio is making, the studio is making money at this point probably off of people subscribing to HBO because it's the same company.
Yeah, and I mean they have the data to where they can see this many people of our subscriber base watched this movie, so they can they can sort of see what would have been a success and they can guesstimate. It's how they make the same numbers where it's like Adam Sandler's Murder Mystery would have made $150 million in comparable box office receipts
Right.
when it launched on Netflix. And then Hubie Halloween was one of their biggest movies. I mean, Adam Sandler's just Netflix gold, apparently, you know?
Well, his movies are
Hubie
also
Halloween's awesome.
I loved Hubie
Yeah,
Halloween.
it's great. Yeah, it's super fun.
I'm not dissing Hubie Halloween. I'm just Netflix always releases the data when it comes to his stuff because it's always so successful.
Right.
They just want you to see because everybody immediately was like, "What the hell, Netflix?" When they made this,
y'all
like, huge
gave him
contract
so
with
much
Adam Sandler.
money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
but-
like, "Hey, joke's on you, pal. Adam Sandler's still gold."
well, so
I mean-
here's the list of movies that Warner Brothers is releasing. It's because these are not like some of these are some pretty heavy hitters. The Little Things, which is not anything that I'm particularly familiar with. Judas and the Black Messiah, which I know has Daniel Kaluuya in it. Tom and Jerry, the animated Tom and Jerry, which got a trailer a couple weeks ago. Godzilla versus Kong, obviously, is one of the big ones. Mortal Kombat. Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is the new Taylor Sheridan movie. So I'm totally down for that. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, which is the third movie in the Conjuring series.
Be seeing
Which-
that.
I'll be seeing that, even though James Wan's not doing it this time. In the Heights, which In the Heights is Lin-Manuel Miranda, who was supposed to come out this past year, got pushed back. It's the movie that put or it's the play rather
Yeah,
that put him on the map before Hamilton.
definitely going to be seeing that.
Space Jam: A
Hamilton's
New
got lot of plans
Legacy.
out.
Space Jam: A New Legacy, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, Reminiscence. I'm not sure what that is. Reminiscence. Do you guys know that one?
Mm-mm.
Let's
I
see
don't
what.
think so.
My head.
Well, let's see what IMDb says about that one because that's not one that I'm familiar with. I don't know. A scientist discovers a way to relive your past and uses that technology to search for his long lost love.
Oh, I love
Sounds
Strange Days.
Sounds a little bit like The Fountain. Kind of,
Or
which also
Strange Days.
which also has Hugh Jackman in it. This has Hugh Jackman and Rebecca Ferguson. Okay, Rebecca Ferguson, I'm sold. I'm in because I love Rebecca Ferguson. But anyway, that's not one that I was very familiar with. Dune, of course, is one of the huge ones.
I
Which,
really wanna
and
see
that's
that on
one
the
that
big
I want to
screen.
see it on the biggest screen possible, man. I want to see Dune on the big screen. Like that's a movie that's made for the big screen. I don't, the Malignant, which is the new James Wan movie.
Is that his Giallo?
I don't know. It might be.
I
It's
think he
I'm
kept
not
talking about how that was like going to be his Giallo film.
his version of a Giallo. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. The Many Saints of Newark, which is the Sopranos movie. King Richard, Cry Macho, and one of the biggest ones, The Matrix 4, which I also definitely want to see on the big screen.
The thing is with this is that I'm remaining cautiously optimistic, I think. First of all, it does not affect me at all because I use Roku all throughout my house and I don't have HBO Max. So GFY to all of it, I guess. But this is for whatever reason not enough to make me switch over. I mean, it's going to take more for me to care. But
I mean, Apple TV is better than Roku anyway. I mean, as someone who was Roku for years, like the Apple TV is incredible.
does it have a weird, crazy, like cable, like public
talking about
access
the cult
channels
movie
that I
channel?
can watch? And
Well,
get
let me
bored with
tell
them?
you a secret, Gary. If you get an Apple TV, you don't have to throw away your Roku.
Well, I'm just saying it's another thing where I can do mostly everything right now. And I think it's dumb, like almost out of spite. Roku is in 25 million households. It's doing way better than an Apple TV.
well,
if you
this
can't
isn't-
work out a deal,
No, I mean
a lot
I
of-
agree, but it isn't all on HBO. I mean, this is on Roku as well. It's a very complicated matter. The fact that they haven't worked anything out yet is ridiculous. They did work out the Amazon issue because you have Fire Stick now, but the fact that they haven't worked
Every
it out
single one of
is-
these articles has mentioned the fact that they are sure that they have got to be
They've
doing
gotta-
something with Roku.
they've got to have something worked out by time this all
Pops
by
through.
time these movies start coming out. I would honestly be very surprised if they didn't have something worked out by time Wonder Woman comes out on Christmas Day.
yeah. So maybe it does. Now, your concerns, I think, are valid. I think I'd like to believe that the studios are thinking this through, but I think a lot of people's concerns are that they're like, hey, you might be like, I think the studio might be thinking, we just need to do this right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are thinking now people are going to expect this. So if you try
Right.
to take it away later, they're going to be pissed off. And
Yeah,
the
but-
consumer's not going to be happy with that. Also, a lot of actors and stuff I've read are very upset that they weren't even told about this. Like movie
It
studios.
kind of took
or not
everyone
studios,
by. It took everyone by surprise.
So
Well-
they're even concerned about like, well, we're not going to promote this. This could upset us later on down the line and like pay
I
us
think
to
what's-
promote this if we're gonna, So it's been kind of they feel a little bit betrayed. So it's a weird thing, but I feel like it's gonna sort itself out. So I'm not necessarily worried right now, but we'll see, I guess.
I
Yeah, I
think
don't
because
know.
all of these movies have a 31-day timer, they're going to be treated like a typical release sometimes that they do.
Yeah.
And so because these movies aren't going to be permanently on the service, I could see if they stop doing this, HBO Max is never not going to have originals or new content on their service. So
They get
I
people
can-
hooked
I
with
can-
these.
yeah, I can see them weaning back to theaters and be like, yeah, your tentpole movies especially, but maybe some of your mid, budget movies or lower budget movies might get a better chance on HBO Max, and they save some of the tentpole stuff for theaters. But I think because these are only available for 31 days upon release, that they've already built in a system where people can't really get used to it.
Yeah. I mean, this is all speculation at this point,
Yeah,
of course. But,
yeah, absolutely.
I love the theatrical experience, and I don't want that to go away. And I do worry that. I mean, that's a lot, because the thing is, this is the slate for the entire year.
Yeah.
Now it's very possible that there's a vaccine coming within weeks, but it could be third quarter before movie theaters are able to open as normal. It could be.
I think the idea is that we're just things aren't going to be back to normal next year.
not not immediately, because it's by
Right.
this time next year, hopefully by third quarter next year, hopefully everyone will get the vaccine and we'll be able to go pretty much back to normal. But that's a long time. That's a lot of time for a studio who spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars on these movies
Right.
to just
Right.
be
They
sitting
can't
on
hold
them.
it. Yeah,
Right.
they can't just like cease all existence of their
Right.
profit.
Right. And
It's-
I think they came to this decision not lightly. I mean, of course, when you put your entire slate on your streaming service, that's a
They've thought it through.
yeah. And I think they were trying to plan out what they were going to be doing for the next several months, and they're like, you know what, this is what we've got to do.
This is
If
what we can do, and we know we can do.
yeah. And
Rather than, because everything right now is everyone not knowing. That's it. Everyone.
things could be clear up. I mean, just hypothetically, this is not me saying, oh, this is going to happen, but hypothetically, if things start to clear up around June, they could say, hey, we're going to not put Dune out on HBO Max. We're going to put it out in theaters.
Yeah, I mean,
You
they
know,
can do
that's-
whatever they want. It's their property.
Yeah.
You know?
So, I mean, this is not set in stone. This is no agreement they've made with people. It's just, this is our plan because there's no end in sight right now. And we need to do something so that these movies can get out in the world.
Well, here's who is not happy about this, and it's a guy named Adam Aaron, who happens to be the CEO of AMC Movie Theaters, which is the
I was
largest.
about to
movie
say
theater
I've
chain.
read about
in the
AMC
world.
having urgent meetings.
So this is his statement. It's a little lengthy, but I'm going to read it here. These coronavirus impacted times are uncharted waters for all of us, which is why AMC signed on to an HBO Max exception to customary practices for one film only, Wonder Woman 1984, being released by Warner Brothers at Christmas when the pandemic appears that it will be at its height. However, Warner now hopes to do this for all of their 2021 theatrical movies, despite the likelihood that with vaccines right around the corner, the theater business is expected to recover. Clearly, Warner Media intends to sacrifice a considerable portion of the profitability of its movie studio division and that of its production partners and filmmakers to subsidize its HBO Max startup. As for AMC, we will do all in our power to ensure that Warner does not do so at our expense. We will aggressively pursue economic terms that preserve our business. He also says, he goes on, we have already commenced an immediately and urgent dialogue with the leadership of Warner on this subject, As this issue gets sorted out, we are nonetheless encouraged that vaccines protecting society at large against the coronavirus are very much at hand. So it is our expectation that moviegoers will soon be able to once again delight in coming to our theaters without any worry, viewing the world's best movies safely in our big seats with our big sound and our big screens. There you go. He's not happy. And he is not mincing words about it.
Well, I mean, my thing is, though, is he can bluster all he wants, but I mean, there's really nothing that they can do about it right now. The theaters aren't open. It's not safe for them to be open. So
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm no lawyer, so I don't know what legally what kind of contracts movie theaters and studios are bound together with. But it does seem like when one of the biggest movie studios in the world pulls all of their product that is what you require to survive, then they might have a legal leg to stand on. But
and they might. I mean, 100%. I think my thing is, my first worry about this is US only. This is not internationally. A lot of theaters are open internationally because movies are still bringing in some money.
Yeah, some, but I mean,
my concern is that it is not difficult to bootleg any movie off of a streaming service.
Right.
And so as soon as that movie is released in the wild, it is going to be pirated.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
in countries where maybe they don't have HBO Max, which is most countries that aren't America, and they don't have theaters open yet, then people are going to pirate it. I mean, that's just going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so like for instance, Canada does not have HBO Max, and Canadian movie theaters are not open. For the most part. So like they don't have access to these movies, and people are going to be online and talking about these movies, and they're not going to have any way to see them unless they go and illegally download them. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And we're not debating whether or not it's okay for them to do that. We're just saying this is what's going to happen.
That's going to happen. Yeah. I don't think they.
Talk to Roku, because I want to be a good boy.
We're not talking. I mean, I'm talking about people outside of America.
I'm not talking to you, Justin. I'm talking to HBO Max. That's who I'm talking to.
I guarantee you they are talking to Roku. I guarantee you they are. But it's more of a concern outside of the States, where even if they have an Apple TV, it doesn't matter because they still can't get HBO Max because it is a US only release. So
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
So that's not going to matter.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'm bummed because I mean I'm a Regal Unlimited subscriber. I know Justin, you are as well, and nothing makes me happier than being able to watch in a darkened theater, whatever the movie's supposed to be.
Distraction free.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm the same. I was looking at my card literally the other day. I actually just threw away my Movie Pass card. Because I was just like, oh yeah,
I did that recently too.
I was like, I never will need this again, I suppose.
Nope.
Still not sure what the status of them in general is.
I think they're dead.
They're dead.
They're dead.
Look, for all intents and purposes, they're dead. I know. But
I knew Movie Pass when they came out with that $10 a month thing. I knew that wasn't going to work out, but I still had the best 8 months of my life in terms of theatrical experience. So it was well worth the maybe $80 I spent on Movie Pass.
Yeah, but I was looking at my Regal Unlimited stuff. I was flipping through my phone, actually. I think is where I was looking at it. I was just like, I wonder if this will ever be a thing again.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it will. At some point, it will. But
I think Birds of Prey might have been the last movie I saw in the theaters.
That might have been the last one I saw, too, actually.
Man, I think that might be for me, too. That's weird.
Because it came out just a couple weeks before everything.
Yeah, it sure did.
I remember seeing that. I remember seeing Underwater. And I'm not sure what else I saw theatrically before everything shut down. But yeah, I mean, and I Justin, you might know because you're more in tune as to kind of this is gonna sound weird, but interesting food items. But I can't find anything that comes close to movie theater popcorn.
No, I mean, even the stuff that's billed as movie theater popcorn.
It's not. It ain't it.
No, it's not the same thing. I mean, I like it. I like popcorn just in general.
I do too. I love Orville. I love Pop Secret, but
it's not the same.
It's not the same. And
you got to have that fake butter flavor.
I've thought about maybe even investing in one of those little poppers because you can buy like the little kind of
No, but you got to
caramel-
find that butter
seed.
flavored oil that they put on.
Yeah.
It. That's what makes it. That's
And
what-
I'm fiending for it because like we've made popcorn here, but it's not the same.
Not
I
the
I
same.
want to go to the theater so bad just to
Yeah.
get a giant bucket.
What
of
about
that smell when
you
you
know,
walk
the movie
in?
theaters had gotten into like Regal had taquitos. So did you guys enjoy those?
I never. No, I stick with the
Me either.
traditional.
I wonder if anybody bought them. I feel like Regal's flying too close to the sun there. You don't just need to expand down.
Yeah, because they had hot dogs and they started sneaking in like these street tacos
Little
and beer
pizzas
and wine.
Yeah, shitty beer and wine selection too.
Right.
I
Well,
think
they had White Claw, I think. So
Yeah, I would say I'm not going to pay $8
basic.
for a Yingling, but then
yeah.
I go to a hockey game and pay $8 for a Yingling. You know,
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, well, yeah, but at the move at a hockey game, they're
gigantic.
It's like
cups.
a 24 ounce.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's all I
Yeah.
got today, guys. I think this was a successful little first
I
live.
had fun.
Yeah. So we'll try to do
yeah,
this
we'll,
again. So
throw up
pretty
some tags.
regularly. We will, of course, give people a better heads up, but we just wanted to kind of try this format out and see how we like
test
it.
the waters. Next time we'll probably have a better stream set up, get a little fancier with it.
Do
This
themed
was spur of the
shows, too.
moment, so I didn't even know there was going to be problems with us live streaming in general. So
Yeah.
we may just rebrand the Psychotronic.
The YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
just
do
go
that.
from there.
Yeah. Why not? All right, man. Well, Miles, thank you for joining us. You want to tell people where you're at on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me at The More You Nerd on Facebook, The More You Nerd on Twitter, and on Letterboxd, Miles Will Save Us.
Miles will save us. I'm Justin_Bishop.
Matt,
about
this
you?
is Gary Horn.
We're at Cinema Shock, Cinema_Shock on Twitter and Instagram, and we're on Facebook, and we're at cinemashock.net. We have T-shirts now. Go buy them. That'd be cool. I haven't even bought one yet, so I don't even have one, but I will.
Shirts, I
either.
like them a lot.
They look good. I think they turned out pretty good. Threadless is doing them for us, so we're excited about that. So go cinemashock.net. Just click on the little shop button at the top. You can also find links to our Discord, all of our podcast episodes, and all that on there as well. So I guess we're done. I don't have
Feels
a
good.
So let's just